Welcome back to the Q Source podcast. Back with us again, I've got Ilya Kolosov, tendonitis. Tendonitis, thanks for coming back on the Q Source podcast.
Yes, sir. I love this place.
Good. I loved our last conversation. I had many conversations after that with guys who you really spoke to. You took us inward in some very thought-provoking places. And so if you haven't watched that, go back and watch the conversation about the jester. And I really appreciate your willingness to really be vulnerable in that conversation, to be honest, and to challenge us. And so when I was thinking about this week's chapter, we're quadrant two, Q2.3, and we're missionality. I thought it would be really great to get you back on. I think this is a conversation that can go so many places, and I know it's one that you enjoy. And
Yeah.
so I do as well. This is a topic that has changed the way I see life, and I thought it'd be good for us to talk about it. So thanks for coming on and being willing to share.
Let's do it. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank you for seeing beyond my gesture that I have something else to offer to the packs beyond the quirky jokes.
Well, if we ever wondered, all we had to do was watch that conversation you and I had about the jester, and you showed that there's a lot past the jokes, and there's a lot that comprise those jokes, and there's a deeper side of you that actually empowers those jokes, and you're willing to share why that comes out and how. So really appreciate that. So I think I don't use the same terminology and language that Dredd does, but I really like how he took this chapter. I like the things that he touched on. I think it's really important as we look in this leadership concept, and the first quadrant of the book is about getting yourself right. And we had Sharkbait made a really astute comment last week. He said, if you read all the leadership books, especially John Maxwell, Maxwell would say that leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. But here we are, we're 20 weeks into a book, and we haven't even talked about that concept yet. And he posed the question to our table,
Hmm.
why wait so long if leadership is really about influence? And what we resoundingly agreed is, for us to even be able to have influence with others, we first have to look ourselves in the mirror, and we've got to get ourselves right. We've got to identify that jester as you went into. And so now we've kind of gone through that process of getting right. And now that we've kind of are settling inside of ourselves, we're ready to look outside of ourselves. We're ready to start having a bigger impact and lead a bigger life. And I think that's really where this chapter starts to open the door to that, to really exploring what does that look like for a man. So before we go, I mean, just where do you go with that when you think about the bigger play after taking the time to really get right inside of yourself and you think about missionality? Where would you take us in our conversation?
Let's start by saying that this is a very complicated chapter.
Yeah.
This is not some sort of a surface level subject.
Nope.
And for somebody to understand this chapter, they really have to read all the things prior to it. Like some books, even Maxwell's books, you open to a random page and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But no, this is a very sequential format. The way Dredd set up this book, you are not going to understand missionality if you haven't read Q1 stuff and especially influence. So what we can start with is understanding and agreeing to this. If you haven't looked in the mirror, like you said, you have no business having a mission, period. Like, don't. Just don't. Continue your gesture, self-indulgence, keep holding on to that capsized boat, and go put on a show for somebody who doesn't know better, who doesn't see through your charade. So that's why this chapter is so
Because here's
complicated.
the thing, because you're not really serving anybody, are you? You're still just serving yourself.
Yeah. Q1 talks a lot about that. The sad clown puts on a show, and his biggest concern is not impact, but appearance.
Yeah.
I, I just love so much the way Dredd just spun this whole thing into this philosophy, this new age stoicism in a way. I
Hmm.
love it. One of the reasons why I came back to F3 after I kind of found out about it in 2022. And then I don't know why I bought this book. I was like, what is this? And I started reading it in 2024. And that's when it really hit me like, oh, wow, it's not just a bunch of old guys trying to stay relevant. This is a
Yeah.
philosophy.
Yeah.
I mean, this book lit me on fire when I started reading it. So,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
let's I want to go ahead and touch on a couple of these concepts, and I think we'll follow them until we don't. But the first part of the chapter, he juxtaposes the comfort zone versus the high impact zone, right? And that's what really you're teasing out. The sad clown lives in the comfort zone. But the challenge is if you're going to live on mission is when you no longer are looking for comfort zone, you're looking for high impact zone. Now, for a high impact male, your comfort zone is your high impact zone. You're not comfortable in the comfort zone anymore. But the sad clown, being enticed by Goo Nation, which is an interesting concept. He just basically it's culture at large that is all about comfort and happiness. Is trying to get us to is seducing us, I think,
Hmm.
into this place of self-indulgence. But there's no fulfillment in that. Whereas a high impact male is looking for a place to have high impact.
Well, I have to interrupt you. It wouldn't be seductive if there was no fulfillment in it. It is fulfilling, but the problem is there's a ceiling to that fulfillment.
Yeah.
After I watched all the porn, after I drank all the booze, and after I put on all the Legos,
Hmm.
and after I wasted all the time, I'm left with nothing.
Nothing. Right.
But the high impact zone, there
Right.
is no ceiling. There's an
Right.
unlimited amount of people I can affect. Even being on this podcast, somebody's gonna watch it. Poppy's gonna watch it. Ray's gonna watch it and be like, "Hey, man, I really liked your
And
what you had to say." That is just gonna be going on forever because this is now recorded, thanks to you, Blake. Uh, or I could have been playing video games right now.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's like it's like an investment. It's like seed sown that continues to grow into larger harvests. When you're looking outside yourself versus consuming. It's like when you invest money versus just spending money.
That's right.
Yeah. So, he makes this, he says, to be effective in your high impact zone, you have to practice to improve your skill. Let's just touch on that for a second. I think, I don't know if enough men are serious about their practice, are serious about improving their skill and understanding the benefit there is to actually going pro, as Dredd would say pro in life, not just pro in a sport, but pro in life, pro in your impact, and thinking, how can I continue to refine and improve the skills make that impact?
For sure. So it's such an exciting and complicated topic. And again, I'll say this is not for somebody who hasn't pondered about these things. So whoever's watching this, don't get caught off guard by jumping into this chapter without having the prerequisite of all the previous ones read and understood. So the invitation comes from both parties. The Goo Nation invites you to mediocrity and comfort, and the high impact zone and F3 stuff invites you to excellence.
Yeah,
Both are going to cost you. The
that's
Goo
right.
Nation is going the price of Goo Nation is looking back and biting your elbows because you've done nothing
Right.
with everything that God gave you.
Yep.
And the high impact zone invitation is like, hey, come on, let's go. Contribution and growth is the only place where you're going to get any genuine, long lasting fulfillment. Nothing else, nothing else other than contribution and growth gets a man proper fulfillment. So I just want to make sure that people are clear. Everything is hard. Being
Yeah.
fat is hard.
Yeah.
Being
That's right.
fit is hard.
Yeah.
That's a cliche. You've seen it on the social medias, but we are always paying a price. So the invitation is either to a party with drugs and alcohol and debauchery or to a ball gala. How are you going to dress? Which invitation are you going to accept? Based on what you accept, that's what you dress for. You either go put on a tux and figure out how to tie a bow tie and have a good time and do some waltz, or go. you know, zoot your brains out and wake up tomorrow morning wondering what happened. You're gonna have a good time one way or the other. It's just one is more expensive than the other.
Yeah.
I know I kind of left you with where you go from there, so I
No,
can
no,
help.
I just, I think about the cost and and when I think it's great to reflect and admit it all costs. The fact that you're not working on your skill, the fact that you're not making better, it's still costing you. So you think, oh, I don't need to read any more books. I'm not going to pay to go to this seminar. I'm not going to buy the coaching package. Whatever your deal is, because you're going to save the cost. You're still paying, right?
Yeah.
The question is like, where are you honest with where you're trying to get to in life and the impact you're trying to make? And I think a lot of us as men, you get to an age and you think you know some things, you've been through some things, and people should listen to you. Right. But my question to someone who wants to be respected, reverenced, or listened to is should someone listen to you? And if you're not going to put in the work, the time to become a high impact male, to really improve your skill, to go to another level, to go pro, then I don't know if someone should listen to you. They need to go find someone who's put in the time. And we're just talking about the influence that we can have around us. But it continues to go forward into our income, into our businesses, into our marriages and other relationships.
In my business, in coaching, there's three things that every coach needs for them to have any clients. And if one of those things is missing, then you're not going to have clients, or at least if you get some, they're not going to last. First one is love. You must love your client. If you don't love your client, if you don't love your men, then the bond isn't there. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. I say that phrase all the time. Second is actual competence, knowledge of the subject matter, whatever it may be, whether it's relationships, fitness, football, soccer, or whatever you're coaching on. And third, and this is where everything falls apart, and this is the subject of this chapter, missionality, is congruence. Is my love and competence that I'm bringing to the table as a coach
Mm-hmm.
congruent with who I am and how I show up? The motto of North Carolina, one of the reasons I moved here, is to be rather than to seem. So congruence breaks or sustains relationships. If Rio, right? We know
Mm-hmm.
Rio,
Mm-hmm.
amazing guy. One of the reasons I love him is he's so congruent
Mm-hmm.
with his excellence and his fitness. He's there 5'10 running. He's always sweating. He's always cheerful. Like he's real.
Yeah,
He's
that's right.
like no matter what weird stuff he says, no matter how distasteful his music choices are,
Right.
I look beyond all of that because his congruence is so high.
That's right.
It trumps everything and anything else that might not be to my liking. I know he loves me. I know he's competent, and I know he's congruent. Therefore, he's a high impact man living in his high impact zone. He's a leader. I will follow Rio.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not a choice. It's a guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we've been following the chapter in conceptual ways, but I think this chapter starts to go tactical in really good ways that can actually
Yeah.
start to give someone something to do. And I think this conversation, we can leave them with some things to do. And so we'll start making our way down out of the clouds and into closer hands-on. And we kind of go through
Okay.
this. We'll go to, yeah. So the concept that he says missionality is service in your high impact zone, right? And mission is the course of action taken to achieve an ultimate or articulated purpose. Okay, so now we kind of get tactical with a couple. Let's lay out some terms first. He used some interesting terms I don't use, but I love the methodology. I'm in total agreement. Dolphin and daffodil. So real quick, when you read this chapter, you might see these words and be like, I have no idea where he's going, and you'll just tune out, right? So let's make it simple. Your dolphin is your gift. This is your unique ability in life. Your daffodil is the people that you are called to serve. Okay, it's that simple. And Dredd makes the claim, and I'm in total agreement, that you are born with both of these. Both of them, both your gift and the people that you desire to help, that is just burdened on your heart. But his part of the methodology is that it can't be taken away from us, but we absolutely can grow in it. And we decide how far and how high we'll grow in our unique ability and our ability to serve the people that we're called to. So let's bring those two concepts together, both our gift and the people that we're called to serve as we understand missionality and how we live that out as men.
Totally. So I have this tattoo on my forearm, and it's come on, forearm turn. It's a, I better stand up. It's a seashell with a open seashell with a
Yeah.
pearl in it.
Okay.
It's kind of the entire chapter now that I think about it. Pearl is the gift God gave me in
Mm.
particular. So I'm really, really good looking and funny. So my pearl stays open to make sure that you people get to enjoy it.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. So this is my dolphin, this pearl over here. I
Yeah.
figured out that I'm really good at making people laugh, making people feel good,
Mm.
influencing people, breaking their patterns, and otherwise questioning themselves. What are they doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? Of course, it rubs people the wrong way. Kind of like David Goggins says,
Hmm.
taking people's souls.
Right.
Nobody's gonna like you taking their soul. It is a messy endeavor, but sometimes it needs to happen for people to snap out of it. So this is my dolphin, my ability to shake shit up.
Hmm.
Like I found out at 37 that this is my dolphin. I'm an interrupter. And of course, I could use that for evil or for good. I used to use it for evil without knowing it because I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any whetstones or shield locks. I'm doing much better now. My daffodil is, like you said, where I can do the most influence, the most impact. Um, every man has to find this stuff. It
Yeah.
doesn't just fall into your lap. We find it out through experience. Some people discover that they're a great singer. Some people discover they're a great dancer. My my cat's dolphin is the football, and I'm his daffodil. He makes me smile.
Well, I think, you made this point about having to find it. You know, Here's the thing you got to know, Pax. This is a journey inside. This is a journey of exploration. You're not going to find your dolphin and your daffodil on the outside. You'll see the evidence of them through the history and stories of your life. But these are things that have to be unearthed and discovered inside of you. I love one of my favorite verses in the Bible that speaks to this exactly. I don't see Dredd quote this, but to me, he had to have this verse in mind when he wrote down this methodology. And it's Philippians 2:13. It says, "For it is God who works in you, both the will and to do for his good pleasure." And so you kind of have three components, but two that revolve around you. The one component is the end result is his good pleasure. Okay, and he works in you, it's inside of you. But the two components are he gives you the will, a desire to do something, and he gives you a to do, the ability to do it. These are God working in you is this a unique ability in this desire to accomplish his good pleasure. So you're born with it. It's in you. The Bible says that gifts and call of God are without repentance. Why are they without repentance? I mean, he can't take them away because you were born that way, but you're going to have to take the time to discover it. So how does a man go to discover their unique ability and the people that they're called to serve? What's that discovery process look like? If someone hasn't taken the time to really mind their story and think about who they are, how would they do that?
You need other people,
Mm.
actually. It, we find out joy and suffering through comparison. I need a tribe, some sort of a camaraderie, a companion, friends, girlfriends, one preferably. Just someone to give you feedback. What I like to call in my line of coaching is a self evident truth. Like, if I make you laugh and you have a good day because of my joke, then My truth is self-evident. This is my dolphin. If somebody's really good at selling things, okay, well, that's also self-evident. Some people are terrible at selling. You and me seem to be pretty good at selling stuff. Articulation. You record your little reels on YouTube and post it on Instagram. I don't see anybody else doing that. How did you find that out? Well, you gave it a shot. You gave good feedback. You got good feedback. People were like, "Yeah, Blake, good job. Keep it up." I remember I gave you some, and you're like, "All right, I guess people like it." I don't think there's any other way through feedback loops.
Yeah, I like that. I would give advice along those lines is I think you have to know like your unique ability is the thing that comes most natural. And what I find with a lot of people is they look right past it. They way undervalue the thing that they're the best in the world at. They assume that because they're so good at it, that everyone else is good at it.
Oh
They
yeah.
assume that the things that they like to do, everybody else loves to do, and the things they hate to do, everybody else hates to do that. The thing is, you are unique. And the thing that you're the best at, that is the easiest for you, most people don't have that. And that is where your gift starts to lie. And you shouldn't discount it and look over top of it. And you'll see it evidence throughout the history. If you look back on things that went well and things that didn't, you'll see your gift. Your gift is always at work. You can't not use your gift. It's the energy behind what you're doing, and you're always looking for environments to do it. And so I think it's great to take time to look into your story and see what went well. To your point, uh, tendonitis, people will tell you. I remember, so I found out my gift a while ago, and my gift is I see the way. I see sequence and patterns, mainly sequence and how things lead to another. And because I see it, I have the ability to communicate it. And I remember, I'll just tell a personal story. So as you hear my story, hopefully it might prick something in your memory. I was I remember I was contracting, he was doing a home remodel for a family. And at that time, I was actually trying to stop contracting. And I was working alongside of an electrician I had never met before. And I was explaining this pretty complicated process to this homeowner that was the how all these different building systems were going to meet, and she understood it and she followed it and she was able to make a clear decision. And when she walked out, the electrician who knew I was about to stop contracting, he pleaded with me. He was like, you can't stop doing this. You can't stop contracting. I've never seen anybody explain something so technical and complex to an ignorant homeowner the way you did, and she was able to follow you and understood it. Now, he was trying to tell me that my gift was construction. It wasn't. But what he did tell me is that he affirmed my ability to see complicated things, make them simple, and communicate it to someone. And that was a light bulb moment for me, as it really kind of made it clear. So, to Tendonitis' point, you've had people make comments to you that maybe you brushed off about something you thought was so natural and normal. Well, that's your gift, right? And you start to take note of those things, and then you start to see where your high impact zone is. Most people, because they discount their gift, they also don't spend enough time looking for those environments
Yep.
because they feel guilty. Work should be hard. No, work shouldn't be hard. If work is hard for too long, you're probably in the wrong line of work.
Oh sure. I have two books that I really want to mention to the PAX
Yeah, please.
before we wrap up this call. I mean, we can keep going for another half an hour. I would love to, but I want to be cognizant. The one book that really anchored me in this chapter is this one. I don't know if anybody read it.
Yeah.
John Eldridge, Wild at
Yes.
Heart, Good
Great
Stuff.
book. Yep.
He
Change your life.
talks about three things that every man needs: an adventure to live, a beauty
Yeah.
to rescue, and a mission to follow, a
Mhm.
transcendent cause of some sort,
Mhm.
something beyond being ever attainable. So as a result of that book, I had to write out myself a mission. It was just an exercise I did with myself. I have it here. My mission is to use all God-given talents responsibly by showing up as the best version possible at all times. So as I was kind of like reading this chapter, preparing for this podcast, and acknowledging my mission, I realized that in that mission, there is no dolphin or daffodil. It's so obscure and ambiguous. And maybe this is a topic for another time, but how precise must one's mission be? Like my job is to sing opera only for people in North Carolina. I'm so I don't know. I'm not criticizing Dred's work. I just have questions about the precision, the 2DX intersection of the dolphin and the daffodil. How big is that intersection? Like, how much leeway is there in that space? But segueing into what I'm trying to say here is at the end of the chapter, he warns about four reasons why we should stop saying
Yeah.
yes to the electricians because we're
Mhm.
going to do a shitty job. They're not going to be happy with it anyway. And it's going to steal from our ability to do high impact stuff. And we will be pissed off in the end anyway.
And
And
you're
we're
going to keep the
stealing.
right person out of the, you're going to keep the right person. You're going to take up room where the right person needs to be. You
Yeah.
know, so, to your point, I mean, the, we feel bad saying no when someone is in need. But when you get really honed in on what your unique ability is and who the people that you can serve the most is, you start to realize sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is say no. Because something that falls outside of that realm, you're not going to do a good a job as somebody else. And it's not fair to say yes to someone when they could go get a better person to say yes to them. And it's not fair to yourself and your real mission to dilute your energy and attention with things that aren't that mission. But to your point about how narrowly defined, I don't go that narrow with mine. With As I've begun to understand it, I know that I want to help people who are
Hmm.
trying to get to the next level. I'm very clear about that. So I don't help people stuck in a gutter. Now, if someone's in the gutter trying to climb out, I'm your man. But if you want to stay down there, I'm not your friend, and I'm not helping people at the park. If you're trying to get to the next level, I say yes. And it really, to me, I realized the juice for me is just someone wanting to get there. And I realized I don't care whether they're building a house, they're building a business, they're building a ministry, they're trying to get somewhere. If they're trying to get to the next level, I know that turns my crank. And I know that I have this unique ability to see the sequence and steps necessary to go from point A to point B. And so is I can make that as narrow or as broad as I need, but you just kind of know when the invitation comes, if you're able to apply it there. And in the situations when you know it's not a good application, you learn to say, I'm not your guy. There's somebody who's, I don't want to take up the space of someone who should help you.
Yeah. Everybody wants to have the right answer. But it's so interesting to know what is my dolphin? What is my daffodil? And sometimes the Holy Spirit interrupts us. Um, like Sean Hanna invited me to F3. He didn't need to do that. He could have
Mhm.
continued scoffing at my life coaching posts on Facebook. It's not his dolphin to bring his neighbors to F3, is it? I don't know. Uh, this chapter really messed with me because it makes you question everything, and that's good. We should be questioning everything.
I,
Humility gets us places.
I agree. I mean, as we kind of wind it down, there's that famous Henry David Thoreau quote that says that most men lead lives of quiet desperation, and they
That's
go to
right.
their graves with the song still in them. And you and I, who are folks who so want to help people get to the next levels in their lives, their careers, their businesses, it pains us to see men with potential locked inside of them, that song unsung, because they haven't taken the time to either understand what their purpose is or taken the step of courage to actually move into it. But I'll tell you what, let's leave them on a positive note. How different is life when you understand it and when you get to step into those missional moments?
It's transcendent. Uh,
Yes.
I live in North Carolina in a house that I bought, drive my favorite car because I got on a mission.
Yeah.
Mission allows acceleration and momentum.
Yes.
Before I got a mission, I was just floating around, seeing what happens today or tomorrow. It was obscure and vague. With a mission, even when I'm in the dumps, even when I'm in a bad mood, I can recalibrate myself. Like, this sucks, that sucks. Well, what's my mission? Oh, that's right. To use my God-given talents to be the best version of myself possible
Right.
and serve as many people as I can as they come into my life. Oh, that's right. My mission is to be a broker of certainty. Oh, that's right. My mission is to be a force for good. Oh, that's right. My mission is to be a provider for my tribe. Okay, back to the mission. So
Right.
mission,
Boom. Right back to
yeah,
mission, right?
mission allows a definitive recalibration and
Yes.
an uplifting of purpose. Without a mission, without a vision, people perish. It's a famous quote by Tony Robbins. Uh, he said that to me personally like that.
Nice.
And it's true.
No, it is. I mean, I think you should go back and rewind and listen to the last 2 minutes. I mean, you so succinctly really put your finger on the importance of missionality. And I think I want to leave the packs with this encouragement. I want to challenge you to dig into this chapter. I think Tendonitis is right. This is a much deeper conversation than we could do it in 30 minutes. It's so deep, people are afraid to go here. And I know there's some of you who are listening that you know there's more calling out to you. You know that you have more in you. You know that you can make a greater impact and there's more possible. And I'm telling you, if that is important to you, if you want to answer that call, scratch that itch, you're going to have to take the time to look into this missionality. And you don't have your understanding of it will continue to grow and change. But when you start to get clear about who you are and what you're up to in life, the steps just start getting laid out in front of you. Things start to
Mm,
become clear and you're able to start moving forward. And it's amazing the people's lives that you'll change and the impact you'll make just because you're yourself. Because you're not, you don't have to go out of the way. You are just yourself. And when you're living authentically you, things just find you. Opportunities come, the people who need you find you, everything lines up, and life starts to take on a whole new meaning.
that's right, for sure. I definitely am a living example of that. I didn't know I needed F3, but F3 came into my life, and now I'm very happy. I I always pinch myself. No way. How is this thing real? There's got to be some sort of a fraud thing. It's not. It's been
Mm-mm.
3 years. It's genuine. This is it.
So here's what I want. The challenge I'll leave you if you watch this and you go to your Q source table this week, or you go to a shield locker, you have a mentor, someone in your life, poke at each other to try to unearth the purpose. Challenge each
But
other to
poke with permission.
poke with
No,
permission.
no,
That's right,
no,
with permission.
nobody wants to be poked if they
No,
didn't agree to it.
poke with permission, but encourage each other to get in touch and being able to describe and be and vocally uh just
Articulate what is your
artic
dolphin and what is your daffodil. Yeah.
thank you, sir. That's it. Well, hey, Tim Nice, I really appreciate you coming on with me. You're right. I mean, we could talk for 3 more hours about this. This is a much deeper well, but I knew that you were the right guest because I knew that you think deeply about these topics, and you know, as I do, this is a never-ending journey of self-discovery and greater impact in the world. And I love the impact that you're making in the world, the impact you have on our community, and I'm just thrilled to be able to call you friend, and I thank you for coming on today.
Yes, sir. It was my pleasure and honor. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you, Pax, at the Q Source table.